Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another lecture of Programming Fundamental. In this lecture, we will cover the for loop. In the last lecture, we have covered the while loop and the do while loop. The while loop is a pre-test loop, while the do while loop is a post-test loop. Pre-test loop will check the condition prior to execute the statement, while post-test loop will first execute the loop and then check the condition. The for loop, you will see that the for loop is also a pre-test loop. So we will first go forward to see the syntax of the for loop. Now, as you've seen that we have three types of loop. Each loop, the basic purpose of each loop is basically to perform some repetition, to repeat certain block of statement. But the choice of the loop, when which loop is ideal, is different. Like while loop is useful when you want to validate the input from the user. Do while loop is suitable for displaying the menu at least once, even if the user put an wrong entry, but you still want to display the menu. Now the for loop is ideal in a situation where you are pretty sure about the number of iterations, that how many times you want to run, how many times you want to iterate, how many times you want to repeat a block of a statement. So journal format or syntax is like that. You need to write for, then this round brackets, and you will do the initialization, semicolon, test, semicolon, update. Now the basic difference is that the every loop is basically has the three things: initialization, test, and the update. But the difference in the four syntax is that these three things, these three sections are in a same line. Even in the while loop, you find initialization, you find the test, and you find the update through the counter variables. Even in the do, you find the same three things. But in the for syntax, the three things are on the same line, separated by the semicolon. You first have to initialize some variable. On the basis of that variable, you have to test the condition. Once the test is successful, it will repeat the statement, or it will execute the statement or a block of statement if you put in the brackets, and then it will go to the update section. Update, it's like a plus plus, b plus plus, or anything you want to update, any sort of changes in a variable you want to make. This is very important, as I told you earlier, that if there is no update, there is no any counter variable, the loop will go infinite times. And this is the test condition. So this is what I explained, the mechanics of the for loop. First initialization, then the test is evaluated. If it is true, the statement will be executed, otherwise the loop will be terminated, which means that it is a pre-test loop and it won't execute uh, not a single time at least. Once after let's suppose if it is true, it will execute the statement and then go to the update. After update, it will re-evaluate the test, and then if it is even true, then go to the statement again. This is the first example of for loop. Here we declare a variable name count of type integer. Here is the start of the syntax: for count is equals to 1. This is initialization. Now the beauty of the for loop is that you have starting and ending point already defined. You know, starting point is this: whatever you initialize, it's the starting point. Count is less than equals to 5. this is a test, and this ensures the endpoint number of times you want to execute the loop. So this 5 means you want to execute, you want to repeat the things 1 2 3 4 5 up to 5 times. And finally, after the semicolon, I have this count plus plus, which is the update, which is a counter variable. So since a count is 1, condition is true, so it will print the hello world, enter, and then go to the update. It will make it 2, check the condition, print the hello, enter, update, test, print. Likewise, a time will occur when after an update the count becomes 6, or let's suppose count become 5 first. So when it is 5, it will print the hello, and then go to the update. It makes 6. Once it is 6, the test is failed, the test is false, and hello will not be printed, and it will move forward by skipping or uh, terminating the loop to the below lines. This is what happened in the previous example. First of all, it perform this is a step by step representation of what I just explained. First step, there will be the initialization. Second step, the test. Once the test is true, it will go to the step 3, that is execute the body of the loop. And the fourth step is update. Now you have to be very careful in understanding the concept of the for loop. Is that what I want to explain is that the step 1 or the initialization happens only the single time. Once the program or compiler enters into the for body, it will do the initialization just one single time. Otherwise, it will make it always start from the 1. So this is happened for the just one time, and repeatedly test the expression and update and this statement. So only the step 1 will happen only one time. Flowchart perspective of the same program is that you this is a flowchart of the for body. Initialization of the count variable, testing of the count variable, if it is true, cout statement, update, and then go back. दोबारा टेस्ट करेंगे, और अगर वो ट्रू है तो स्टेटमेंट रन हो जाएगी, और फिर इंक्रीमेंट हो जाएगा काउंट के अंदर. अदरवाइज अगर ये फॉल्स हो जाती है कंडीशन, तो ये इस लूप की बॉडी से बाहर आ जाएगा. This is a same sort of program that we have done in the last lecture using the while loop, where we print number and number squares. Numbers are from 1 to 10, and we want to print their squares. Now this is a clear example of the for loop, because we know the starting and the ending point. We want to print the numbers from 1 to 10, we want to print their squares. So we know the starting point, we know the ending point, we want to print the numbers from 1 to 10. So here is the solution. Num is equals to minimum number. Make sure you initialize or you declare the num variable. So num is equals to minimum number, which is 1. Num should less than or equals to maximum number, which is 10. So this is the end limit of the for loop. And then num plus plus, this is the counter variable. So it is 1, it is 10, condition is true, it will print the variable and variable square separated by the two tabs, and then again go to the update section, and it will update the num variable. And this is how it will print the output. This is the step by step representation. This is the flow chart of the same program, and this is basically the comparison with the while. As I told you that every loop has three things: initialization, test, and update. So as I told you that in the last class, I have done this using the while loop. This is how what we have done. While num less than equals to maximum number, make sure you already defined what is meant by the num. So integer num is equal to minimum number, and while num is less than equals to number, what the loop has to do? Print the number and the square, and then the update. So three things: update, test, or initialization, all are there. Same is the case with the for loop. So syntax wise the three loops are different, but three of them, all of them basically has the three things: initialization, test, and the update. But the but the scenarios are different. Like for loop is very much suitable when you know exactly the number of iteration, when you exactly know the number of times you want to execute. Do while loop is used to display the menu, and while loop is used to validate the input, and on the basis of the input it is decided whether to repeat or not. So as I told you that the use of the loop for loop is when you exactly clear about the initialization, starting point, ending point, false condition, when to stop, and how much the step size, how much the an update you want to happen, you want to do at each iteration. For loop is a pretest loop, so it will never execute when the condition is initially false. Remember, pretest loop, the number of iterations are 0, while in post-test loop, the number of minimum iterations are 1. What is mean by number of minimum iteration? It means that even if the condition is initially false, it will execute it. But pre-test loop won't execute for a single time if the condition is false. So count is 11 and the condition is count less than equals to 10, which is false. So it won't print the hello. Never. Now some modification in the for loop. You can, in fact, you are allowed to do some modifications. Like you are not bounded to initialize only a single variable within the initialization section of the for loop. This is as it in this example, they initialize two variables: x is equals to 1 and y is equals to 1. This is the initialization section because this is semicolon. You can initialize many variables within this section separated by the comma. There is no bound. For example, your loop may use four variables, so you can initialize them, their initial values. Then we have a test, and then we have a update. Likewise, we can have multiple updates within the update section separated by the comma, like x plus plus, y plus plus. Another modification is, if let's suppose you already initialize a variable like integer sum is equals to 0. Now sum and num both are initialized and declared, so there is no need to initialize in the for body. So you can skip the initialization, but you have to put the semicolon to make the three section: one blank, the second one is a test, and the third one is a update. One thing is missing. I shown you how you can add multiple initialization using the comma, how you can do multiple updates within the update section separated by the comma. But what about the multiple test? You can also perform multiple tests, like if x is less than equals to 5 and y is equals to 5. Let's suppose you want to test the two condition. How you can put them? This time around you cannot use the comma. You have to use the logical operators like x less than 5 and y less than 4, whatever, or x less than 5 or y greater than 3. So we have two logical operators, x and or. The purpose of these logical operator is to connect two or more logical expressions. As far as initialization and update are concerned, you can do multiple things with the comma, but not with the test condition. Also, one of the modification is that you can also declare and initialize the variable within the initialization section, like integer num is equals to 0, then the test, and then the update. it will work. But the problem with this sort of writing, or with this sort of approach, is that the num variable can only be accessible within the for body. The scope of the num variable is only the for loop. You cannot use the num variable outside the for. So it is better to declare outside the for body so that other part of the program can also access this variable. Likewise, we can have, it is not mandatory to only have a unit step size. Like you can do some other modification in the update. You are not bounded to do only the count plus plus. You can have any sort of step size, like num plus equals to 2. So this update will add 2 each time. Now this is an example of the reverse loop, where initial value is 10, condition is num greater than equals to 0, and num minus minus. So till now we have seen all the increment update. So it is not again the mandatory condition that the update should be increment. It can be minus also, and it is also uh, optional uh, to have any number of update, like not mandatory to go only for the one edition. You can have 10 edition or 3 4 5, whatever sort of update you want to do, you can add. Because update is very necessary, it make the condition false and stop the loop, otherwise it will be the uh, infinite loop. So that's come to an end of this lecture, which I have delivered in today's live session. So in the next lecture, we will see other different applications of the for loops. Till then, Allah Hafiz.